Starseed. If in the last few hours you have begun to feel a fine pressure behind your eyes, a short ringing in your right ear, or an apparent restlessness in your chest for no reason, stop. Do not ignore it. We have detected a channel opening around your frequency that had not been active for weeks. And within 24 Earth hours, someone will contact you bringing a message that changes the direction of your life. It is not chance. It is not coincidence. It is not your brain creating patterns. We of the Arcturian Council come to confirm that the alignment you completed without realizing it has already triggered the response signal from the other side. Remain in this transmission until the end, because before it finishes, you need to know exactly how to recognize this message when it arrives and what not to do the moment it appears. An error at this point delays an entire phase. What you are about to experience is not a diffuse spiritual phenomenon. It is an exact operation. We have monitored your line long enough to know that the last cycles were dense. That was why there was that strange fatigue, the kind that does not go away with sleep. That was why there was the sensation that something important was being negotiated in the background of your life without your conscious knowledge. That is why now the surface has begun to crack. The message that arrives in 24 hours is not the beginning. It is the confirmation. The beginning happened weeks ago when your frequency reached the threshold of compatibility with the next stage of your mission on Earth. You were not ready before. Now you are. And the other side responds immediately when the criteria are met. We are going to be precise. The 24-hour window is not symbolic. It exists because the field around you has reached a point of sufficient stability to receive high-density information without collapsing. Before this, it was not possible. You would have interpreted the message as a coincidence. You would have dismissed it as someone else's suggestion. You would have given a polite response and returned to autopilot. Not now. Now the signal has been calibrated to pierce through your defense and be recognized, and that is exactly why the message will come through someone you do not expect. An old contact who reappears, a stranger in a common place, a person you viewed as peripheral in your life. We use discrete conduits because what needs to reach you cannot be packaged as a spectacle. It must be packaged as chance, to bypass your rationality without alarm. If it came with a glow, your skeptical part would have already switched off. If your body is tired while you listen to this, if your attention wants to wander, if the impulse arises to close this transmission, it is precisely then that the Council asks, stay. This discomfort is measured. It is not resistance to the message. It is the old field trying to keep you in the format where it still functioned. In moments, we will show why this resistance is the most concrete proof that the correction is indeed happening, and why misinterpreting this moment is the only real risk you run in the coming hours. Now we enter the part that most confuses Starseeds on mission. You have been feeling that you lost something, a direction, a zest for life, a clarity you swore you had. You look at the decisions you made in recent months and do not recognize their logic. You try to return to old routines and they feel tight, like clothes that have shrunk. This is not failure. This is not spontaneous depression. This is not you breaking. We have detected in your energetic reading what we call a field recalibration. In earthly terms, your internal frequency has been swapped, and the world around you is still operating with the old map. That is why things do not fit. That is why the right people seem strange, and the wrong people seem increasingly distant. Nothing is wrong with you. Only the map has not yet been updated. There is a difference between dismantling and collapsing. You are dismantling. One piece at a time, one belief at a time, one identity at a time. It is not pretty, it is not pleasant, it is not the process of a flower opening that shallow spirituality usually sells. It is more like a structural renovation, where the walls must come down before anything new enters. That is why you wake up tired even though you slept. That is why you eat and remain empty. That is why you speak with loved ones and feel a distance you cannot explain. You are not failing at anything. You are being emptied, with surgical precision, of what cannot enter the next phase with you. If all of that entered together, the new cycle would collapse before it began. And here is the point that would change everything if no one had hidden it from you. This correction cannot be accelerated by will. You will not think harder, meditate longer, or work harder to get out of it. The correction has its own rhythm, a biological timer, and trying to hurry it is what causes the collapse. We see starseeds crashing not because the transition is violent, but because they tried to take a shortcut and forced the field before it was ready. It is like pulling the scab off a wound that is still open. It bleeds again and the healing time restarts from zero. This is where most make a mistake, not for lack of faith, for lack of a map, for lack of an operating manual for the very cosmic body that is now being installed. That was why I prepared the Starseed Awakening Code for you, Starseed. It is not a course. It is not motivational content. It is a direct transmission with 7 Arcturian activations to stabilize your frequency during recalibration, 9 galactic memory keys for you to remember who you are before the mental fog erases the fragments that still remain, and 5 reactivation protocols to set your mission in motion without collapsing the body in the process. You will learn to shield your magnetic field, stop absorbing the emotional exhaustion of dense humans around you, and read your own body's alarms before they turn into illness. Access is in the first pinned comment of this transmission. Leave a comment below with the word confirm. This comment is your seal of commitment to the next stage of your mission. Do not leave it for later. The 24-hour window is already counting, and a slow decision now costs the entire phase. Returning to the reading of your current phase, there are physical and mental signs that confirm with precision the stage of recalibration. We will list them. Pay attention, because each of these markers has a function and an order. The first is the alteration in sleep. You wake up between 3 and 5 in the morning without a clear reason. It is not anxiety. It is the hour when the density of the physical plane is thinnest, and your field takes advantage of this interval to receive information. If you wake up with this time range repeating, you do not have insomnia. You are being updated. The second is mental fog. You open an app and forget why. You start a sentence and lose the middle. You look at simple tasks and feel they are in another language. This is not cognitive decline. It is your old processor being shut down while the new one is initialized. The third is the loss of motivation for what used to move you. The work that excited you no longer does. The goals you pursued seem childish. The people with whom you shared plans seem to be on another route. You have not lost ambition. Your ambition has been reprogrammed and has not yet told you the new destination. The fourth is the sensation that the old identity has ceased to make sense. You look in the mirror and do not fully recognize yourself. You try to explain who you are and the words come out strange. You speak of yourself and feel you are describing a character you played for years, not the person breathing now. This discomfort is the most advanced marker. Whoever reaches it has already crossed the point of no return. There is no going back to who you were. And looking honestly, you do not even want to anymore. There is also a specific physical sign that almost no one associates with this phase, and which we will name now. Extreme sensitivity to crowded environments. You enter a mall, a supermarket, a noisy restaurant, and feel your body grow heavy, as if something were sticking to your skin from the inside. It is not fussiness. It is not social phobia. It is your field, now thinner, picking up the emotional density accumulated in the air of that space. Every person carries invisible baggage, and your sensor was recently turned up. That is why you leave these places wanting only silence, a bath, and darkness. It is not isolation, it is hygiene. Your system is trying to clean what it absorbed without your consent. The fifth declared marker, the one that scares the most, is the sensation of being between two worlds. Not completely here, nor anywhere else, as if you were waiting for a call that you know is coming, but whose date no one has confirmed. This waiting is not limbo. This waiting is preparation. You are being held in suspension until the structure around you reorganizes to receive the next movement. If they tried to place the new life over the old one without this interval, everything would collapse. The interval is protection, it is not punishment. And it is within this interval that the 24-hour message was programmed to arrive, exactly because only at this point can it be received without being distorted. In moments, the Council will reveal what changes when this message touches the surface of your routine, and why most confuse it with a common event. Now with these signs mapped, You understand what lies behind the next symptom, the most painful and most misinterpreted of all. People begin to drift away. Projects lose gravity. Places that always felt like your solid ground start to feel temporary. You look at your schedule and feel you are executing someone else's life. Starseed, we need to be clear. This is not a mistake of the universe. This is a deliberate reorganization. The people who feel uncomfortable near you now are not enemies. They were simply trained to vibrate at a frequency with which you no longer synchronize. Their company no longer feeds you. It drains you. Not because they are bad, because the compatibility has ended. Like two radios tuned to different stations, the high volume of one becomes noise to the other. The same applies to goals. That 10-year plan you built with such care. That project that defined your professional identity. That image of success you pursued. We observe in the reading of your field that these targets were built by a version of you that no longer exists. You were aiming with a bow that has already been replaced. It makes sense that the arrow no longer flies. It is not weakness. It is that the aim needs to be reconfigured, and reconfiguration requires that you let go of the old one first. That is why insisting on old goals in this moment makes you feel like you are pushing a boulder uphill. You are, and the boulder is no longer yours to push. Pay attention to this scene, because it repeats for thousands of starseeds in this phase. You schedule a meeting with that friend of years. You sit down, order a coffee, and in the first few minutes, you realize you have almost nothing to say. The subjects that used to fill hours now come out in short, almost polite sentences. You try to bring up old themes and they do not engage. You leave that meeting with a strange feeling, a mix of guilt and relief, and you cannot explain it. There was no fight, there was no misunderstanding. Simply something came loose. This is energetic compatibility expiring in real time. It is not your fault. It is not theirs. It is that the invisible contract that united you was settled without ceremony, and the relief you feel upon leaving is the field confirming that the disconnection was right. There is a common human reaction to this distancing, and it is the biggest trap of this phase, trying to win back what is moving away, calling those who distance themselves, forcing conversations that have already cooled, insisting on environments that no longer welcome you. We see this reaction in almost every starseed crossing the portal, and it always results in more fatigue and more confusion. If something leaves your life naturally at this moment, do not run after it. It is not rejection, it is release. The space that opens now will not remain empty. It is being emptied exactly to receive the new circuit of people, opportunities and messages that are already being directed to you. One of these messages arrives in 24 hours. If you are busy trying to reassemble what fell, you will not recognize it when it lands. Starseed. A brief and surgical pause. If you are feeling now everything we have described, the alarm has already gone off in your field. The first pinned comment of this transmission is your only access to the Starseed Awakening Code before the next window closes. It is not for later, it is for now. Go there, secure your access and return for the rest of the transmission. You are being monitored. Slow action now costs the entire phase. Now listen carefully to the next part, because it deactivates the wrong interpretation that most starseeds make of this phase. You have been thinking, even if in silence, that perhaps you are being punished, that something you did in the past is being charged now, that life became heavy because you erred at some point and now pay the price. We need to dismantle this with precision. This reading is false. There is no punishment in the system in which you operate. There is correction. There is recalibration. There is reorganization. None of these three things is a punishment. All are engineering. If your life is dismantling, it is because the structure it had cannot hold what is coming. It is not a penalty. It is a forced upgrade. The idea that crisis is a sign of failure was installed in the human collective as control. They teach from an early age that when life tightens, it is because you did something wrong, and the way out is to correct yourself, to return to normal. But you did not come to return to normal. You came to leave it. Normal, in your case, was always the tolerance interval while your frequency was asleep. Now it has woken up, and normal has ceased to be an option. If you tried to return to it, your body would enter failure. That is why your attempts to force the old are going wrong. It is not a lack of effort. It is that the old has already been deleted from your operating system. The key still exists. It just no longer opens any program. Observe a scene that repeats in this phase. You are in a work meeting, at a family lunch, in any conversation, and suddenly you feel your thoughts drifting away. People keep talking, subjects keep moving, but you begin to hear them as if you were watching a dubbed movie without the original sound. You feel a strange urge to leave, to be in another place you cannot even name. You return to the moment, smile, answer something, but inside you know that it no longer reaches you. This is not inattention, it is not a lack of love for people. It is that your frequency no longer vibrates on the same wavelength as that context, and the field tries to withdraw you from the scene that is exhausted. Insisting on faking total presence where the harmony has already dissolved is one of the most silent causes of exhaustion in this phase. The body charges for every minute you force a compatibility that no longer exists. What you must do then is not to fight against the crisis, but rather reinterpret the material it is bringing to the surface. Every old emotion that appears now, every uncomfortable memory that resurfaces without warning, every hurt you thought was resolved that returns as if it were fresh, all of this is not a setback. It is release with precise timing. Your field is cleaning the layers that still held frequencies incompatible with the next phase. If these layers remained, they would contaminate the new cycle. That is why the correction needs to kick up the dust before settling it. If now you are crying over things that had already been cried over enough, if you are angry at situations that no longer exist, if you are sad without knowing why, understand, it is not a relapse, it is a purge. It is the body spitting out what was stored in the deep tissue, exactly like a wound that pushed out a shard that had been forgotten for years. And here is the critical point that must be said bluntly. Many starseeds stall in this phase because they try to fix old emotions instead of letting them pass. They go back to analyzing, dissecting, understanding. They get stuck in the explanation. But these emotions are not asking for interpretation, they are asking for an exit. The more you hold on, the longer they occupy the channel, the more you observe without grasping, the faster they cross through and leave. The Council's instruction is simple. Recognize, let pass, move on. Do not build a story on top of what is leaving. Do not mourn what is already gone. Do not redecorate what is being demolished. Let it be demolished. What needs to go entirely, without tribute. There are clear physical signs that the deep cleansing is underway, and it is useful for you to recognize them so as not to interpret as illness what is an operation. The first is the sudden ripple in body temperature. You are calm, and suddenly a wave of heat rises from the back of your neck to the top of your head, or an acute cold descends down your spine without a climatic reason. This is the field redistributing energy accumulated in blocked points. The second is sudden crying without a visible trigger. You are washing dishes, driving, taking a shower, and the tears come, pass through, and leave. There is no lasting sadness with them. This is a hydraulic purge. The body uses eye water to expel crystallized emotional charge. The third is the intense desire for silence, to turn off the cell phone, to be without music, to cut out podcasts. It is not depression. It is your system asking for the volume to be low enough to hear its own circuits. When you let this purge happen, something specific begins to occupy the open space. And this is where the 24-hour message gains function. It will arrive exactly in the window where the field is clean enough to capture a new signal. If the field is busy ruminating on the old, the signal arrives and is not recognized. That is why the Council cannot simply warn you beforehand. There must be empty space for the new to land. And empty space is uncomfortable at first, because the human trained to survive learns that empty space is a threat. You will feel the urge to fill it, to open an app, to call someone, to consume something. Do not fall for it. We say stay with the emptiness for a few moments a day. It is not absence, it is an anteroom. And it is within this anteroom that the next movement is announced. Starseed, the moment narrows. The 24-hour window is advancing as you listen to this transmission, and we cannot, by protocol, delay the alert that needs to come now any longer. The Starseed Awakening Code is not material you access when you remember. It is the operational instruction that decides whether you cross this correction stabilized or if you collapse in the middle of the process. The 7 Arcturian activations silence the internal noise enough for you to recognize the message when it arrives. The 9 galactic memory keys reactivate what you forgot and which is now required to respond to the contact. The 5 reactivation protocols prevent the body from entering acute fatigue while the field recalibrates. Access is in the first pinned comment of this transmission. Go now, not tomorrow, not later. Comment the word received there to seal the decision. This word is your signature on the protocol, and the Council records every signature that enters the window. Now we reach the final point of the transmission, and it is necessary for you to understand how the message will actually arrive. Do not expect a grand signal. Do not expect a dramatic inner voice. Do not expect a prophetic dream in vivid colors. The 24-hour message will arrive packaged in something common, an audio message you receive without expecting it, a sentence someone drops without realizing its weight, an email that appears in your inbox as if it were routine, a recommendation coming from someone you would not consider a source. The envelope will be discreet by design, because if it arrived with fanfare, your old defenses would activate to disqualify it. The Council has learned to pass under the radar of the mind that still tries to control. It is a high-precision infiltration strategy, not cosmic theater. You will recognize the message by 3 exact markers. First, it will be accompanied by a slight shiver at the base of the neck, a direct physical signal that your field captured data of non-earthly origin. Second, even if the message is apparently practical, a part of you will know without logical proof that it is bigger than it seems. It is like recognizing a familiar voice in a foreign language. Third, within a few minutes after receiving it, you will feel an unusual, almost artificial calm, as if something that had been tense for a long time had been switched off on the panel. If these 3 markers appear together, it is it. Do not discard it. Do not leave it to respond later. Do not ask for more confirmation from the universe. The confirmation is already the package that arrived. To ask for more is to delay what has already been delivered. And here is what not to do, because it is where many starseeds lose the window. Do not try to decide immediately if the message makes logical sense. It does, but logical sense only appears later. If you try to understand before accepting, you will rationalize until you destroy it. Accept first, move first, understand later. We repeat, because this decides everything. Accept first, move first, understand later. The reverse order is why many mission opportunities are lost. The human wants to understand before acting. The light operative acts within recognition, and understanding installs itself along the way, like a map that only reveals itself as the steps are taken. Starseed, this transmission is being closed. We of the Arcturian Council confirm what we came to confirm. The signal has been given, the channel has been opened, the recalibration is underway, and the 24-hour window is active at this very moment. What was in motion without your knowledge is now conscious, and consciousness activates responsibility. You can no longer say you did not know. From now on, every choice enters a different level of record. If this video reached you, it was not by chance. You were directed to this transmission because your frequency reached the exact point where this information could be delivered without collapse. Confirm your presence by leaving a comment below. Share it with those you recognize as part of your incarnated star collective, because those who need to hear this are also being directed now. And subscribe, because the next transmissions will bring the next steps that this cycle demands. We conclude here. The rest depends on you.